you're really going to want to partner with a bank who specializes in the laundry business.
Are you looking for a business investment that's easy to start, flexible, and cash generating? Then opening a laundromat is for you. Welcome back to Laundry Money. This is your place to hear the ins and outs of every step of the design, construction, and operation of your laundry business. I'm Max Brandstetter, podcast producer at Hippo Direct and host of the Wild Business Growth Podcast, and I am here with Howard Shear and Rex Anderson from Lakeside Laundry Equipment, your guides every step of the way. Howard and Rex, how are you guys doing today?
Hello, Max. How are you?
Hi, Max. Happy to be here.
Today is episode 4. So episode 4, and the topic is how expensive is starting a laundromat business. So in the previous episode 3, we talked about just how profitable a laundromat business could be. Today, we're going to talk about the other side of the coin and what's involved, because as we know, as nice it would be if this was free and you just see returns on it, obviously it's not free to get started. So we're going to talk about upfront costs, construction need, lender costs, and some more things to consider. To get us rolling here, we'll start off with you today, Howard. What are the biggest upfront costs and things you need to consider before you're even signing the lease?
Before signing the lease, you need to make sure you have all of your numbers in order, even the hidden numbers, like utilities. What are the true costs of bringing utilities to the building to start this laundry? You already know that you're going to have a construction cost, architectural cost, legal costs, and even possible accounting costs. But the actual hidden costs, cable television, phone, alarm systems, utilities, water, gas, sewer, all those have to come in. And believe it or not, internet is a huge, huge issue. It's a huge issue for some of the rural laundromats that are being built.
Yeah, so there's much more than initially meets the eye there. And so I like how you called out the hidden costs as well. Rex, so let's put a number on some of these things, or just an estimate based off of what you guys have seen in the past. So the main upfront cost that Howard mentioned, there's a lot of different areas. Can you share any sort of a range or what to expect as far as what these biggest costs are and what you need going in?
So really, that's really going to vary depending on a bunch of different factors. Primarily, are you acquiring an existing store or are you building a brand new store? And if you are building a brand new store, what was in there before? Are you doing a whole new construction project where you're erecting an entirely new building? You could have to bring new utilities to that. I mean, there's tons that can go into that. Now, if you're acquiring an existing laundromat that already has the infrastructure in place, that already has the power going there, it already has the sewer going there, obviously your costs are going to be a lot less, and more or less it's going to be retrofitting the store and you're going to be updating it. We've seen people even build, in old auto parts stores. We've seen people build in strip centers. We've seen people build in old bars that they totally ripped everything out. They ripped all the bar equipment out, and they brought new power coming in. They, brought their sewer requirements. They brought their gas requirements. So really, it could range anywhere, I would say, between 50,000 to 250,000, 300,000. I mean, it just really depends. But that's strictly the construction cost. Obviously, you're going to have equipment on top of that. Also, size is going to be a big proponent of that as well, of how much equipment are you going to need and how much power you're going to have to run to it, how much drainage you're going to have to bring in.
And so there's a number of different costs there. What would you say are typically the biggest cost? Not as far as specific numbers go, but as far as, what would you say are the 2 or 3 biggest costs, or kind of like the pillars of costs that you'll need to keep in mind right from the get-go?
One of the costs was considerably higher when we built the store. The owner or the investor of that property had thought there was a water supply on his property with a 1-inch water line. Ended up, it was not his, and we had to dig across the street, build a new water vault outside the building. That actually cost $80,000, which he wasn't expected to spend.
Oh yeah.
However, this was based upon investor doing everything in house, and we were just supplying the equipment. Bringing utilities in can be extremely expensive. You have to deal with your local utility companies, and having them come out and have an interest in your laundry is sometimes a fight in itself. So those numbers are needing, you are going to need those numbers up front before you sign the lease.
Yeah, that seems super key to think of beforehand. And another area that's so crucial, and you alluded to a little bit earlier, is the construction side of things. So, on the construction side, it obviously depends if you are building something from scratch or using an existing building. But what are the biggest financial considerations here? You know, how big of a difference is it if you are starting building from scratch versus refitting something that is pre-existing?
Building from scratch from a new building is like building a business from a bottom up, but you own the building and you can maintain the real estate. If you're going into a property that is owned by somebody else and you're having to bring in utilities, those are costs you'll never be able to recoup except for over every time someone uses the laundry machine. So that's why it's so important to know what these hidden costs are. You can actually input them into your ROI to see a true perspectives on your store. Again, this is all done through your distributor before you sign a lease. It doesn't take long to get the numbers and the information, and having your distributor help you figure these numbers out is usually a phone call away.
And how commonly do you see new laundromat business owners start from scratch with their construction as opposed to revamping something that's pre-existing from an infrastructure standpoint?
It's a much easier palette to go into when you already have the utilities in place. So that is substantially easier to work around. From there, your distributor can give you a drawing that you can present to your architect to present the plans to the city. That'll give you, you already have your utilities. And again, it's on your distributor, who is your partner and your expert in the business, then who you choose to help you build your business and continue to build your business.
Yeah, that's where it really makes the biggest difference to be working with a strong partner, is because there's so many unforeseen things that can come up to create sometimes there's construction barriers that you just didn't foresee beforehand, or there's random things in terms of utilities that come up. So I feel like that's where really a strong partner makes all the difference.
Let me give you an example. If you're in the middle of Manhattan, you're building a laundromat and you have to get your water from across the street, the cost of that would be almost incomparable to bring in, because you have to dig across the street in the middle of Manhattan. However, if you have a little town in, let's say, Buffalo, New York, you have a lot more space. The cost of bringing that water across downtown Buffalo isn't going to be anywhere near what it's going to cost you in New York City.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Are you telling me things are expensive in New York? I've never heard that before. uh, so Rex, another area on the cost side of things is lender costs. Can you speak about lender costs for a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So first thing you're going to want to do after even before you sign a lease, after you decide you want to build a store, you want to get qualified for a loan. Finding the right lender is going to be crucial. You're going to want to find. I mean, obviously you can go through you can go through a normal bank, you can go through the SBA if you want. However, you're really going to want to partner with a bank who specializes in the laundry business, someone that knows what you're presenting them when you actually show it to them. It'll really help down the line. And before you even go through that, you're going to want to meet a couple qualifications beforehand. Now, these aren't a deal breaker if you don't meet these qualifications, but the bank's going to want to see this. The first thing that the bank's going to want to see, they're going to want to see your credit score. They're going to want at least a 650 credit score. They're going to want to see your personal financial statement. They're going to want to see your net worth being at least 2 to 3 times what the total project costs is. And they're also going to want to see some business sales, some business experience. They don't want you to go in completely cold. They want you to at least know what you're doing, and at least know how to operate a business. And really, if you have those, you'll be a no-brainer. Even if you don't have all those, the bank will still they'll still consider it. But you're going to want to partner with somebody though who knows what they're looking for. And obviously, you're going to finance a significant portion of each project, unless you're a millionaire, and you're just going to pay for everything out of pocket. That's possible, but really, you should expect to come up with about 30% out of pocket of whatever the total scope of the project is. And in terms of a good estimation of how much a total project is going to cost, it's safe to assume about $150 a square foot.
Okay, cool. I appreciate you breaking it down to the foot as well. Well, square foot, that is. What should you look for in a lender so you can know that you're making the right decision on that part of the puzzle?
So, believe it or not, there actually are laundry specific banks. So, one of the banks that we like to use and we like to send our customers to is Eastern Funding. They're based out of Manhattan. They're a laundry specialty bank. They also do car washes as well, and dry cleaners. But they know what they're doing. When it comes to the laundry business. When we present them with our pro forma analysis, they're asking the right questions. They're able to read it. Whereas if you send it to a smaller, more regionalized bank that doesn't really have the experience dealing with laundromats, their questions may be more in the sense of how do I read it, opposed to asking how'd you come up with your numbers.
It's blowing my mind that there's laundry specific banks, but I guess it makes sense. This is true laundry money, keeping with the theme of laundry money here.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, in real estate, there's a method called the Burr method, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So laundry is not much different in that respect. Only instead of obviously you're not renting it, but when you build it, you rehab it, you operate it, you pay down the debt, you build up your equity, and then you can turn around and refinance that store once your cash flows have matured and once the store is fully operational. And you could take that money and you can roll that directly into another store. And obviously, when you work with a bank that specializes in laundry financing, they understand that what your cash flow is now. And banks are going to be a lot more susceptible to giving you that number that you want, because instead of having a pro forma number that you're basing it off of, you have real tax returns to give them and say, hey, this is how our store is doing. This is how much money we're actually making. And then you could take that money, put that into another store, and then while you're building that, and you can keep growing that first store, and compounding your business that way.
And how about on the equipment side of things? So I know as part of that, there's expenses from the equipment side. How do you know what types of machines to use? What sort of mix that you have in your laundromat business?
So the right partner can tell you, just based on the demographic studies and their analysis and the pro forma analysis of that, they're able to tell you how many turns you can reasonably expect per day, and then they can build it out from there.
A turn is how many times that machine is turned on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was using
Yes.
laundry specific lingo.
Laundry speak, yes.
Laundry speed. Anyway, so yeah, so as Howard said, it's how many times the machine's turned on per day, so that way you can maximize profitability. Another thing too, that you want to look at is the breakdown of type of equipment, whether that be a smaller top load washer, or whether that be 120 pound gargantuan multi load machine. And believe it or not, people actually do gravitate towards the bigger machines. They like getting all their laundry done at once. One of the factors we look at when we're building stores is how many large families are in one specific area. That's one of the key demographic drivers. So that being said, people like getting in, doing all their laundry at once, and getting out. And then obviously, how we determine how many dryers that they're going to be, it's obviously based on how many washers there are. A good rule of thumb that we look for every pound of dry weight that we have capacity for, we look for about 1.25 times that for total dryers.
Okay. So it gets, not only does it get down to the square foot, it gets down to the square pound as well. I appreciate the inside look at the estimates here. I think it's really cool that you dig into stats about, bigger families obviously like to do, obviously everybody likes to do their laundry all at once, but for bigger families, it makes sense to have bigger machines there to support that. What other factors come into that situation when you're thinking about what machines you're actually going to use?
The style machine is always done by the demographics, meaning you have a huge amount of SKUs, different sizes that you're going to put in there. Manufacturer and manufacturer are pretty much, and I say pretty much the same as far as size, poundage size. They vary in cost and they vary on the style. Not to bury you on the SKUs of how many different types of machines are, but you can even build a laundromat on a second floor building if you really wanted to. The costs are going to go up because you don't have the concrete to support the machine, so you have to buy a special machine for it. So there's so many variables that we don't want to get caught up in that right now. But the beautiful part about it is the actual $150 per square foot is a decent number to be your guideline. Now it depends. Your rent is got to be also not included in that. So your construction in New York is going to be a lot higher than maybe Davenport, Iowa, or in Cleveland, Ohio, may be different. So those square footage, that 150 is just a round number that we use. That's a good baseline to go off of.
A round number for a square foot. I like it. And all that's on the equipment side, but I'm sure there's got to be other costs outside of equipment when you're looking at stuff actually inside the location. What non-laundry equipment costs would you say there are, and what should we know about that?
So obviously you're gonna need changers, coin changers. That part's imperative. Some people have bill breakers inside their machine, inside their stores. Something that can break a 20 down to a single. You're gonna need laundry cards, soap dispensers, and all these are also additional generate or income generating opportunities as well. If you have a fully attended store, you're gonna need a computer POS system, and when I say POS, I mean point of sale. Especially if you're going to do the drop off service. And then you're also able, with today's POS systems, you're also able to you're able to track time with that. You're able to do marketing promos with that. You're able to send text messages and emails to customers, and then you're also able to do the credit card systems with that, and you can also track your mobile app as well. And then we've seen some stores do other non-laundry facing stores as well, stores items as well, whether it be coffee shops, ice cream shops. We like to say, if you're going to be a laundromat, be a laundromat. Focus on one thing, be good at one thing, don't be subpar at all these other things. So we also partner with the Coin Laundry Association as well to bring in the Laundry Cares program. And what that is, they provided us with a reading center specifically for children's books. So once a month, they'll send us professionally curated children's books. And the whole idea of the program is for the kids to take the books home with them at the end of the day. So they may come in with their parents, to do laundry. Instead of the kids sitting there watching TV or sitting there bored or on their phone, we have a reading center where the kid can go and take the book. And if they want to take it, by all means, take the book home with them.
That's really cool, because I think, as we mentioned earlier, so much of actually doing your laundry is waiting around. And I think it comes up to creativity and how much time and thought you want to put into what you do, and to make that experience better and more engaging for your guests. That is what really makes the difference. So that's amazing that you guys have seen results from and that side of things as well. So we've talked about upfront costs, we've talked about construction need, lender costs, equipment and non-equipment needs here. You've seen my house, you've seen my crib. No, I'm just kidding. Those are the main considerations from the expense side of things. As we look forward to episode 5, we will look at the other business costs beyond the washers and dryers, and what to know kind of from the overhead side of things as well. As a little teaser to that, Howard and Rex, what is one of the biggest costs or considerations that we did not discuss in this episode that we'll get into in the next episode?
You need to have at least 2 hours a week to invest of your time in your laundromat.
Ooh, I like it. The 2-hour work week. So thank you, Howard, and thank you, Rex. This has been another edition of Laundry Money. And thank you, listeners, for listening to Laundry Money. You can bring your laundromat business to life by visiting lakeside.laundry.com/podcast and filling out the form. Until next time, keep it clean.
The numbers discussed in this podcast are based upon estimates and may vary from location to location. Past performances are no guarantee on future estimates, but are used as a guideline.